This brings us to trainers needing to learn new skills, and this we found is likely to be your biggest challenge. I mean, you may be or you may employ fantastic classroom trainers with many years of experience, but in an online virtual classroom, much of what we rely on to be fantastic trainers is suddenly missing. You know, in a traditional classroom, you can see people. You can see if they're asleep or if they're yawning, if they're texting or if they're energized and interested, and you're constantly gathering this information and reacting to it accordingly, you know, in real time, so that you're constantly speeding up, slowing down, maybe putting someone on the spot, calling a break, introducing a new exercise, all sorts of things. So, you know, what skills do you really need to employ as a virtual instructor-led trainer to be effective? And I think that the main thing is that you need to set people's expectations right up front, that you're expecting them to be engaged and involved and participating in the session. I think that's absolutely crucial. Otherwise, they will be texting, checking their email, yawning, or maybe switching off altogether. So the key there, I think, is to get their involvement and their participation. So how do you get the involvement and participation that you need? And three things that you need to be doing to be an effective online trainer. The first is you need to get people to talk. The second is that you need to get people to see. And the third is that you need to get people to do. So talk, see, do is my approach to be an effective online trainer. In terms of talking, I would say never, ever, ever put people on mute, and ask them not to mute themselves as well. I mean, unless, you know, absolutely necessary, if they've got a dog barking or a crying baby or something. But generally, never, ever encourage people to be on mute. And ask an early question. And when you ask the question of the group, and it can be anything, you could be asking which city that they're attending the training from, or anything, any opening question early on during the training, and then just wait. And you might need to wait for quite a while, and that can feel quite nerve-wracking, having silence on an online training session. But don't jump in with the answer, because if you do jump in with the answer, people will think that all of your questions will always be rhetorical, and they will sit back and they will relax and they won't be involved. So do ask a question and wait for people to respond, because this really sets an expectation that you're expecting them to be talking and involved. And don't be afraid to ask people direct questions using their name. They will respond. People are often very happy to talk to the trainer, to talk to each other, and as well as involving people, of course, it wakes everybody else up and keeps them on their toes too. People do like to talk, and they get more from the training if they are able to interact both with you and ask questions, as well as being able to talk to some of their co-workers that may be very geographically dispersed. So I think talking and getting people involved is crucial. In terms of seeing, do try to make your presentation as visually interesting as possible, because of course normally your face, your gestures and your movements are visually interesting, and this is all missing. So crucial to get people to be seeing, and don't say something and then display it. Avoid bullets. Don't read bullets out to people. They really can read for themselves. I think the only time I would use bullets would be if I had something like an agenda, but even here, the more visually interesting you can be, the better. For example, the agenda and the roadmap of the Working Smart with Outlook program is simply an image, and we show people exactly where they are because this image is animated. So do as much as you can use images to introduce concepts rather than just using words. And do resist the temptation to ramble on and to talk. Instead, ask people for their ideas, their thoughts, their suggestions, their contributions, so that you're always asking questions instead. Of course, visually, videos are great, and so are emotional icons, emoticons. They have a very high visual impact too. And it's much cheaper and easier to produce video now and than it was, in the olden days. So do think about the things that you could add to your presentation. You need to get people doing things as well. You can't see your audience, of course, and you don't really know what they're doing. I mean, despite your best efforts in involving them in talking and seeing. But one more way to involve them is to make them busy by giving them something to do. If you're using a particular software, you can use short exercises on that software. Perhaps you want to give people short writing exercises with reporting back. Perhaps you could use polls, and we use some polls, as well as inviting people to participate in the chat, which of course gives them something else to do and gets them moving slightly. You might want to use breakout discussion groups with reporting back, but really anything that you can get them to do that just keeps them busy and involved would be really great. Finally, of course, everybody has different preferences in the way that they learn, or different learning styles. So the more that you can mix up the talking, seeing and doing, then of course the more you will be playing to those people's individual preferences or learning styles. In terms of the outcome, we now deliver all of our training for Cisco online using virtual instructor-led training. The evaluation process has actually shown that there's no impact on the success of the training, which has surprised me, but the results that we're getting are exactly the same results as we were getting from the classroom training. The training is of course more accessible for Cisco staff, regardless of their location. There's been a huge benefit to us as we can train directly from our offices. There's no wasted time travelling, less time away from our families, no more Sunday nights in hotels. And the smaller eco-footprint of the training has been great as well. And we have a very satisfied customer and a very strong ongoing relationship. In terms of the main learning points today, just to come back to them, the considerations when you're taking an existing class online must first be learning the new technologies, thinking about the program design, designing the best learning resources, and of course trainers needing to learn new skills. And in terms of those new skills required by trainers when they're delivering online, everything we're doing is to try to get people involved and participating in their own learning, getting them to talk, getting them to see, and getting them to do. If you've got any questions or anything that I can help with your moving your class online at all, then do of course send me an email. My email address is katie.honey@prioritymanagement.com. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening and watching this presentation, and good luck with moving your existing class online.